Welcome to the show, Mr. Nelson Leite. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. It's a pleasure being here with you. Please don't call me Mr. Nelson Late because I feel really old, and I'm old as is. Let's not go there.
Well, I'm not saying it as like an old thing. I'm saying it as like a professional, addressing
Yeah,
you as a professional. You are somebody I think that a lot of people don't know you're the face behind Palma. So I think it was an important episode to have where we can kind of put a face behind the company.
well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. It's an honor to be here. I love your show, and it's really really an honor for me. Thank you.
Well, it's exciting for me because you and I talk very often.
We
Um,
do.
you brought me along for the ride with Palma, and I only knew you because I knew you through Palma. So I didn't know you personally, and we have grown a cool friendship, I would say,
For sure.
professionally and truly. You are definitely one of my good friends now.
Absolutely. I feel the same. You're an amazing person on the radio, and in person, you're just awesome. And I'm glad we connect.
So I have to say this funny tad bit, and I've told you this before, but when you and I started talking and you had said, why don't you put your program on Palma? Let's, broadcast it on Palma. And I had to reach out to my trustee, David Garcia, as some of you guys may know, a well-known physician in the community. And I was like, all right, tell me everything you know about Nelson Lake and everything you know about Palma, because I don't want drama. Because at the time, I hadn't been back in the Portuguese community for so long. So this was my first time for a long time getting back into the community. So I wanted to make sure that I was just on a healthy route.
Right.
And he had nothing but really good things to say. And also,
That's
that
awesome. I
you
appreciate it.
yeah, and I think the funniest thing is like the only bad thing I've heard is that the valley you're a liberal in the valley and that might piss people off, and I go, oh well, I
Yep.
think that we're a perfect match then.
Yes, yes. I kind of stand out like a sore thumb out here, and I'm not the very quiet type, so that kind of escalates things a little bit more. But it's all in good fun.
Well, I have to say that's probably because you're originally from the East Coast, right?
That is correct. Yes.
So tell me a little bit about where you were born, where you were raised.
All right. So my story begins back in 1976 when electricity hadn't been invented yet. I'm just kidding, of course. But I was born in Lisbon, Maternidade Alfredo Costa, which no longer exists. Unfortunately, it was the one hospital in the country with the most births. So I was born there, and I was raised in Aguava Cacém, which is right between Lisbon and Sintra, so it's part of Sintra actually. And at 13 years old, my parents decided to immigrate to the U.S. All my father's side of the family lived in the East Coast in New Jersey, more specifically. And at 13 years old, I came to America. It was a hard thing to do at 13. You kind of have your own friendships already. You have your youth basically going on. And even though I had family out here, leaving all my other family in Portugal and friends and the only thing I knew, the culture I knew, to start everything from scratch in a different country. It took a little bit of an adaptation process. So it was not the easiest of things, but I'm glad, of course, that we did it, and I'll forever thank my parents for it. So that's kind of it. Got married, had two beautiful children, and in 2013, we decided to move to California, and here we are.
So how old were the kids when you guys moved to California?
Well, so this was a little bit over 10 years ago. So my daughter was 7, and my son was 5. So they were very little still. And that's one of the reasons we decided to do it sooner than later because I didn't want them to go through what I had to go through. At 13, you have more attachments, you have friends, you're older. They were little enough that they wouldn't feel it as much, although it was kind of tough for them because of the cousins that they had. So we basically came out here. We had no family out here at all. We still do not. We have friends that are like family, but it was kind of hard to adapt as well.
What made California so appetizing if you had no family here?
Well, here's the thing. I did some research. Obviously, I wasn't going to go anywhere outside the United States. I definitely wanted to stay in this country. I love America. I love everything about it. I wanted to pick something that would be a good place, obviously, to raise my children, and I still wanted to be connected with the Portuguese culture. Now, there's only a handful of states that you could do that. Of course, New Jersey is one, and I wanted to leave. And then you have, the states in New England, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and so on and so forth. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's Portuguese people everywhere in the country, but the majority of them are in California. And the thing about California also that's very appealing, of course, the natural beauty. I like the politics of the state. We're not going to get into that right now,
Not
but I
my type of
do.
show, Nelson.
Yeah, right. And at the same time, and this is where shocks most people. I mean, the better weather, everybody figures, better weather in California than in New Jersey. But the one that shocks the most people is when I tell them that the cost of living is cheaper here. And when I say by here, I mean where I live in the Central Valley.
Hmm.
The cost of living in the Central Valley, even today, compared to where I was living in northern New Jersey. I grew up in Newark, and then when I got married, we moved to Elizabeth. So that whole region there, close enough to New York City, it's a lot more expensive to live there than it is here. Rents there are equivalent to the Bay Area. The cost of living is equivalent to the Bay Area, and it's just overcrowded. It's dirty. If you want a nicer area, you're going to pay even more money. Property taxes are through the roof, tolls. It's just insane how expensive things are out there. And I still have family there and friends, and I just recently traveled there for work, and it hasn't gotten any better. If anything, it's gotten worse. So that's one of the reasons I came out here. The better weather and the better, cheaper cost of living. Of course, when we moved out here, we moved into Hillmar, which, I never really lived in a small town my whole life. And I was really happy to do that for my kids, where they could actually walk to school, and it was nice and laid back, and I didn't have to worry about cars, and or people or crime. So I really do love Hillmar. My kids still live there. I no longer live there, but still, it's a small little town, and it was great to have my kids being raised that way.
And it's incredibly influenced with the Portuguese culture.
Absolutely. I did not want them to lose the roots. I keep pushing them to get connected to the community, and they still, they still go to the festivals. They're still somewhat involved. They're a little lazy when the language thing, they understand everything that's Portuguese. Sometimes they're a little, I guess, lazy to speak it because they're afraid that they're going to say something wrong or whatever. But I still keep pushing them that way, but they're still connected. They understand the Portuguese culture. Their mom is Brazilian, so they're also have a big Brazilian influence. But either way, it's the Portuguese language, and that to me is very important.
So are they, is their accent totally in between?
Yes, some of the words they use are very Portuguese, and others is very Brazilian. It's kind of an interesting thing as they
That's
speak, because
cool. I like that.
yeah, they'll start a sentence with something that sounds straight from Portugal, and then they'll end it with Brazil, like something Brazilian. So it's kind of a blend, but it is kind of cool. Yes.
And so do they speak Portuguese in casa or?
So their aunt and uncle are currently living next door, so they do only speak Portuguese with them. It's kind of interesting the interaction they have. It's still a very minimum. They don't have a full blown conversation, but they'll talk just whatever they need to talk with them. But
Yeah.
yes, they understand it. They speak it with their aunt and uncle, and their mom tries to speak to them in Portuguese, but they always respond in English. The
Yep.
same thing with me. But yeah, we do force them any chance we get to
Yeah.
speak it. Yeah.
Well, just a side note for any parents out there that are trying to have their kids influence with the Portuguese language or any language in general from your own culture, the worst thing you can do is make fun of them if they say something wrong. Because I had that
Yes.
happen to me so much when I was younger. And there was a few years, 11, 12 years old, where I was like, I never want to speak Portuguese again because I was so embarrassed when I would try to say something. And my mom, like, Sylvia, no, see, see. Like, and I would be mortified, and it made
Yes.
me want hate it and never want to speak it again. And although I always understood everything, it was so scary to speak. And I think that has traveled with me even to today, where I get extra nervous for certain things to speak and I fumble even more. And I think that if I had someone more so guiding me, so with my husband that, grew up the same way that I did with Portuguese in casa, and that was it. And we responded in English. He
Hmm.
speaks more Portuguese now because of me. And I kind of took it as my project where I'm like, I'm never going to make fun of him for anything, and I'm just going to correct him in a way that is encouraging, or, he feels more comfortable saying something because he knows that, like, I guided him rather than made him feel stupid. So my own
Absolutely.
trauma. But so I commend you for continuing that, because even just having like the aunt and uncle nearby, that was kind of like, me having my avó. If I didn't have my avó that didn't speak anything but Portuguese, I wouldn't have been forced to communicate, even if I was said, I'm never going to speak again. I
Right.
had no choice when your grandma's taking care of you.
Correct. And that's the
So,
thing. Like just a few years ago, my father passed away. So he was living with us here in California. And while I was working and their mom was working, he took care of them. And that's the only language they spoke. So they actually spoke better Portuguese when my dad was around than they do now, because they were basically with him pretty much most of the day. But yeah, we still like push them forward. And you're right. You're absolutely right. You should correct your kids when they say something that's not correct, but you shouldn't say it like, to get on their case about it. You should just be like, no, you don't say it that way. You can actually say it this way because blah blah blah. You don't
yeah.
laugh at them, and you shouldn't, make them feel bad, because then if they feel like they're gonna be made fun of or criticized, then they're just gonna run the other way, and we don't want that for sure.
We're happy to have you in California.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So I know that your radio career goes beyond Palma. This is something that you've been doing way before you created Palma. So tell me about how you started in the radio world.
Then I met another amazing name of radio, Alvaro Antonio. This man has at the time, over 40 years of career, like just a professional locutor, like an amazing dude. And he had told me about a project that he had about launching an AM station in Newark, New Jersey. So we basically combined my technical skills and the music, the production aspect of it, to his, obviously, being a professional radio, the way he spoke, and his knowledge of an actual AM structure. And we created Radio Comunidad USA 1640 AM. So basically, I grabbed my online station and I made it into an AM station, also with an online stream. So it wasn't a very powerful radio, but it was in the heart of Newark, New Jersey, where the big Portuguese community is.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a great response. We did some amazing things. We interviewed some amazing people. But about a year later, I decided that it was time to move forward. So we kind of separated, I guess, the radio. Radio Comunidad USA became Ironbound Radio, and I brought Radio Comunidad USA to California. So this was in 2013. When I got out here, I met with an individual. We worked together. We created another company here in Turlock. That kind of was short lived because he did some stuff I didn't agree with, so we really couldn't be partners. So again, Radio Comunidad USA left another platform, and then I decided, you know what, let me just turn this into a full media company. So then Palma Media was born, and it wasn't just radio, it was YouTube and social media online and everything. And we haven't looked back since. So it's
So
it's
how
been
many
kind of an
so
evolution.
Palma. So let's get into it. What
Okay.
does Palma mean?
So PAMA stands for Portuguese American Media Association. The idea of the name behind that is to be able to work with individuals from all over the world, really. Like I said, a media association. So basically, what we're doing today, and you are a perfect example of that, to be able to bring people that have content, whether it's a podcast or they're broadcasting on other platforms, to bring them into one location and be able to serve the community, not just in California, not just the United States, but all over the world. Just have one platform that everyone can listen to people from all over the country. I mean, like the podcast that we have right now. I mean, we have you here in California. We have people from the East Coast. We have people from Canada. We have more and more people coming together and having their content on our platform. And the listeners, the people that listen to our shows, could be from everywhere in the world, and they're going to have exclusive, not exclusive, they're going to have full access to this content, on one platform and without having to look for stuff locally, because we have them from all over the place. So it's basically a plethora of community programming in one place.
So one thing that always sticks out to me when you and I talk about shows or ideas for Palma, you always have the same thing to say, where you created this so that you can give people of our community a platform. And
Correct.
um, you really ground the company in that way, because I think sometimes we can get like, oh, is that cool or is that not cool? And you really ground it and say, there's a place for everybody. And this is what it's about. It's about having a platform for everyone.
Correct. I mean, we have pretty much an open door policy, and we understand that there's preferences for everything. Not every listener is going to enjoy every program that's on there. We understand that. That's why I also offer them other options. I mean, we have Palma Classic that plays the old Portuguese music. We have Palma Futurix that plays electronic music, and we have different options, even still within the same platform. That okay, so I tune in and I'm not really enjoying that particular program. You could listen to music, or you could go elsewhere for the time being, but we know that a lot of people enjoy the majority of the programs, the majority of the content that we have. Of course, you're not going to please everybody. Not even Jesus Christ pleased everyone, right? So, in a way, it's easy for the people to understand. Okay, so I like that program, and I like that program, and I like that program. Not a big fan of that one, but okay, I won't listen to that one. But there's always choices, and again, it's an open door to the community, and I can't stress this enough. We have an open door policy to the community. If you have something that you want to bring to us and you want to spread it through the community, and we're not just talking about programs, we're talking about announcements. I mean, if you're promoting an event, if you have an organization that's working on an event, or if you need, just to spread the word about something, that's what we're here for. And like you said, I like to keep the door open to everyone, because I believe that that's how you unite the community, by not discriminating, not criticizing, just being all in one, all in one, and open the door for everybody. Community here is welcome. The
Yes.
community in general is welcome. So that's what I've been trying to do since day one, and that's we've been doing a lot more of late. I have to say here publicly that you have been a huge, huge part of that, and I can't thank you enough. I thank you personally all the time, but I'm going to say it here publicly. What you do is amazing work, not just on their podcast, but everything that you do for PAMA, everything you do for the community. And I know you're just getting back onto the whole, community involvement. People like you, we need more people like you in our community.
Yeah, I don't think that many people know how involved I actually am, because it has become such a little passion project of mine, and you really made me love it so much, and you made me have
Thank you. That's
so
awesome.
much of an admiration for radio. And I didn't realize that I loved radio and the broadcasting world so much. So you kind of took me under your wing with all of that, and I ran with it. And you took me to the Earthquakes game. We are
Yes.
we are so lucky to be able to be in the box for Earthquakes games and do the play-by-plays in Portuguese on Radio Classic.
Mm-hmm.
And you brought me as a guest with you, and I played soccer, competitive soccer, for at least 12 years of my life. And I cried when we
You
were in
did.
the
I'm a witness
box.
to that. Yes, that was
And it
awesome.
was
That really
so
touched me to see
overwhelming,
that.
because little, 13, 15-year-old Sylvia would have been like screaming on the inside, think like it was a dream for me to be able to see the field at that capacity and all. But it's a big deal, and
Yes,
see your name on a paper and see the everybody else, like the buzz and all the other stations, and how welcoming. Especially there was another female in there, and she was so welcoming and so excited that I was a female in the box in there. So it was really exciting to be able to see the broadcasting world on that spectrum. And then, just being Portuguese, you got to love soccer. So on a Portuguese
absolutely.
heritage night, seeing all the fellow people of the community just showing up was a really special thing. So it really made me hang on to Pama. And um, so thank you for that opportunity as well.
Well,
And
thank you.
I hope that we can bring more people along in that sense. And I think we need to be a little bit more vocal. Like, if you want to be involved, just reach out to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like, again, we have an open door policy. We want the community to be a part of this. We're here to serve the community in every way, shape, or form. We've gotten plenty of ideas and suggestions over the years of things we could do to improve. We've done some amazing work, but I'm not even anywhere near to close to complete to what we could do. I mean, the possibilities are endless. The technology is there. It's so simple nowadays for someone who wants to speak their mind and serve the community with a podcast like we're doing right now. I mean, it's so easy to do. And if you're at home thinking, I always wanted to talk about, I don't know, health as an example. I always wanted to talk about, friendships or anything you have a passion for. I mean, it's so easy to be a part of it, and we strongly encourage everyone to do it. Don't be shy. Don't think, oh, I wonder if I have a good voice, or I wonder if I have enough content. Well, the voice part, I could be the first one to tell you, I have a horrible voice, and I know I don't have a radio voice. And we used to do the loser show, me and Álvaro Antonio. And Álvaro Antonio falava muito bem, assim, com aquela voz muito grossa. Like, I can't even come close to the guy's voice. I mean, he actually used to sing too. In the end, that's old-fashioned radio. I one of my heroes of all time for radio. A lot of people hate him, a lot of people love him, but Howard Stern proved that
Yeah.
you don't need a radio voice to do amazing radio. Love him or hate him, the guy is the most successful radio personality in the world. And he proved that even without a radio voice, you could put out amazing content. So that was an inspiration for me. And I'm telling everyone that's thinking about it, what do you got to lose? Give it a try. Give it a shot and
Yeah.
and do it. Yeah, for sure.
Or even if you guys can relate to one of the programs that we have the Portugal Corner, and they talk all things soccer. We have,
Yes.
it's called Culture, and they really do like deep dives on a lot of things on history of Portugal, and really a fun, topics with the girls there. You have your Faith Ignited with Nancy, and she really gets into those deep, hard-hitting conversations of, life struggles and overcoming all of that. So even if you want to try to just be a guest, and start that way, you got something
Yes.
to talk about, you can reach out to any of us, or we can put you in contact with any of them. And I'm sure any of them would be happy to have you guys on their platform, myself as well. And Nelson brought back his show. So we're excited for
Yes.
that as well.
Yes, yes. So we're work in progress still. I mean, my career. I mean, obviously, Palm is my passion, but it's not really my career. So my career kind of put me away from a lot of stuff that I could have done. But I have a little bit more free time now, and I'm glad to bring my program back. So I'm excited about that as well.
Can we talk a little bit more about like the earthquakes thing, or?
Oh, absolutely. So what do you want to know? Go
Well,
ahead.
I think there's not a lot of people also that know how involved we are with the earthquakes, and the amazing opportunity we have there with MLS. So if you could tell us basically what gig we have with the San Jose earthquakes.
Okay, so about 10 years ago, this young man, this young individual that probably no one has ever heard of before, and probably they still don't know who the heck it is. His name is Taylor Amarant. Really insignificant guy. Nobody knows who he is. Joking, of course. Taylor Amarant reached out to me and said, and this was back when Yannick Jallo was hired by the Quakes. Yannick Jallo, the Portuguese soccer player, played for Sporting, played for Benfica, played international. The nicest guy you'll ever meet. And I'm not kidding. I met him in person. Super nice dude and a heck of a soccer player. So when Yannick Jallo came to the Quakes, they made a big deal about reaching out to Portuguese media outlets. And they basically had us sitting down on a dinner to do a presentation of Yannick Jallo. Now, when I was in New Jersey, I did some stuff with the New York Red Bulls, not play by play, just basically flashes. And but I did have press credentials with them. So that dinner, I started talking with this gentleman. His name is Jed Matee, which is still a big guy in the Quakes and the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And I, of course, I pulled out my credentials, said, "Hey, look at this! I used to actually do stuff with the Red Bulls." He goes, "No kidding." So we started talking, and he asked me about what I did, and I told him what my passion would be. And I said, I really wanted to do play by play, but the Red Bulls never really gave me the opportunity. To which he looked at me, he said, "Would you consider doing it for us?" And my eyes lit up, said, "Yeah, hell yeah. I would love to." So fast forwarding to Buckshaw Stadium when Yannick Jallo was still playing, they didn't have the stadium yet. It was just playing at Buckshaw at Santa Clara University. And I started doing a play-by-play in Portuguese. Taylor also was a huge part of that. He was one of the guys that always pushed, during the Quakes organization, telling them about us and helping us go through it. And this is basically, we just finished our 10th season with them. And it's been 10 years. Along came Anderson Terra, along came Michael Rocha, and others individuals that would help us doing this play-by-play. We are still the only Portuguese language radio station in all of MLS to cover the games in Portuguese. So we're very proud of that.
Absolutely.
And last year we had the honor of being added to a major club, if you want to call it that, which is the devotion. The devotion. They gave us the devotion scarf for me, Anderson, and Michael, because they saw the type of work we were doing for the community. The fact that we sometimes would drive, 2 hours to go to these games out of the Central Valley to cover the games and then come back home. I mean, it was an honor to get mentioned to be a devotion recipients, and it was a big deal for us. So we still doing it. We have a big passion. I don't do it as often as I did before. Anderson's still there. Michael goes there occasionally as well, and every chance I get, I go. So it's a big deal. And if you're a Quakes fan, and if let's say your parents, or your father likes soccer, which most likely they do, and maybe they rather hear the play-by-play in Portuguese, that's what we're here for.
So that's on Radio Classic. So you guys can hear that on Radio Classic. I was tuning in last night. Anderson was doing the game last night, and happy to say we made it to playoffs. So go Quakes!
And hopefully, we're still in the playoffs by the time this airs.
Yeah, let's hope so. But it's
Right.
kind of, and it was a sold out arena last night, and
Yes.
you could hear it through the recording, which is really cool. There's nothing like the spirit at a soccer game, especially
Yes.
a game like that where it was, determining whether we were going to move forward or not. So if you guys haven't seen or gone to the PayPal Park, it's a really special site.
It
You guys
is.
got to go and experience it, and they have so many cool things. They're always doing events, and look out for the Portuguese Heritage Night because that is a fun one as well.
Yes. So that guy that I mentioned before that no one has ever heard of, and a lot of people might not even know, Taylor Morant, that guy.
Yeah.
He of course is still involved with the Quakes. He's still involved with Portuguese Heritage Night, and every time that event happens once a year, it really feels special. It really feels special. We have people there, wearing the Portugal jerseys, the Benfica, Sporting, and Porto jerseys. Hopefully not too many of the last two that I mentioned, but they're out there representing, and it feels special. It's our night, and it's soccer, and I'm going to say, I don't know if a lot of people know, but that PayPal Park actually has a very special connection with Portugal because the stone of the bar is actually from Braga. The actual stone in that stadium that they used at the bar is imported from Braga, Portugal. So we literally have Portugal inside that stadium, and it's
Yeah,
very special.
right there.
Yes.
It's really special. And just have to call it out. Taylor is their host there. So
Yes.
you're seeing somebody, on the field talking and, doing his thing. That's Taylor Amarant. We got to, give a shout out to him. He does a fantastic job at the stadium, and he really has pulled through for the community, getting that Portuguese heritage night there and really raising it up to for us to have fun and have something to celebrate.
And
So
I just want to say something to Taylor. Taylor is an amazing individual. I mean, he's the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He's been super involved with the community all these years. I've been saying all this stuff that nobody knows him. Of course, everybody knows him. He's an amazing, funny as heck comedian, and a new dad. So congratulations once again on that. But this is the nicest guy you ever meet, and he's super involved with the community. Not only him, but his brother as well. I mean, just does so much for the community. He doesn't get praised enough, in my opinion. So I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
so
Taylor's a
there you
good
go,
dude.
Taylor.
There you go. And I was joking
Hats
about
off.
people not knowing him. Of course they know who he is. I was just joking around for that.
That's so funny. Coming into the limelight a little bit more now, and I think people are starting to
Mm,
recognize, but a face to Palma. I really the one of the main reasons why I wanted to be involved in Palma and why I stayed here is because I feel like we gravitate towards the youth so much and
yes.
younger Portuguese generations. And that is just something that I've always held close to my heart. I've been a part of so many organizations in my life, whether it be folk or dancing or Luso and so many different aspects in bands and sing and all that kinds of stuff. And I think there was always a divide between the older generation and newer generation. And especially when I was younger as a teenager, we would try to make suggestions and be innovative with new ways to make money for halls and new fundraisers, and it was never taken seriously. And I feel like after COVID, the presence of the youth really dropped when
Right.
it came back to coming back to festivals and things. And now it's starting to pick back up because I feel like we're wanted a little bit more now. They need us, and I don't think they really felt like they needed us before because we weren't the ones paying for the dinners. But
Correct.
as everyone knows, we
Right.
all grow up and start making our own money, and if you want our presence at the dinners, then you have to make us feel human. And like there's a say, so my favorite thing has been seeing so many new younger generation be like presidents of the halls now, and
Yes.
um really like Taylor getting out there, and all of us with our new podcasts and programs and trying to keep the culture alive. And that's why I talked a little bit about this with David Rodriguez when I had him on my show from How to Cook Stuff. We are trying so hard to keep it alive, but there's still the older generation that keeps putting us down for whether we're not Portuguese enough or not this enough. And this company Palma really stops that. We're advocates for however you want to be Portuguese, whether you speak it or not. You are Portuguese and you are welcome. So I think that's why I always really loved Palma and have such a big heart for Palmas, because of it catering a lot to the younger generation as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that the Palma One launch was exactly that. It was directed to the young generation. I managed to sit down with a group of individuals, all Portuguese Americans, all younger generation that got it off the ground. We had several shows when we first launched. Of course, life happens and everybody kind of moves on. But all of those individuals pretty much did, everybody did their own program in English. And the reason for that is because a lot of the young generation does not speak Portuguese. And the ones that do still speak English. So it's a door of opportunity for the younger generation, or sometimes even older generations that were never brought to the language. I met plenty of people that are even older than me that don't speak a word of Portuguese, but they still want to be connected to the culture. They still want to know about events. They still want to know what is happening with social clubs and church events and all the good stuff. They still want to know what's happening, but they have no way of knowing because they kind of feel left out because everything is in Portuguese, or it doesn't really reach out to them in a way.
Yeah.
And that's why Palma One was such a good fit. You can still understand what's happening with the community, but in English. Okay. English is the language that we use mostly on Palma One for the programs. Of course, the music, we try to even make it fresher, newer. We leave the classic one for the older generation stuff. But even the newer Palma One music is still, it still resonates with a lot of the older generation as well. But basically, we're trying to bring the culture to them in a way they could connect, in a way they could understand what's happening. These programs in English allow them to understand all the things, and they don't feel left out. So basically, it's a way to open for an entirely new group of people that up until now didn't really have a place to go.
Right. Thank you.
Well,
That
thank you.
I don't think that you get enough credit for what the platform that you also created for
Oh,
to have like
thank you.
a space. So it I commend you for all of that, Nelson. You put your
Thank you.
heart into it, and I'm excited for a lot of future things you've done already. A few events. I know you've done what was it? It's not Marine World anymore. Discovery Kingdom.
Discovery Kingdom, yes.
You did an
We,
event there. That was
yes, we did two actually, back to back years. Portuguese Heritage Day there. What else? We did the comedy show. We were the first ones to bring Fernando Rocha to Turlock. We had a big comedy show with the Portuguese kids. We also had Mike Rita, this guy that no one has heard of before, Taylor Amarante. Yeah, he was out here.
Mhm.
And of course, Fernando Rocha. So we had that. We've done some events. We would like to get back on the events thing. Oh, we also hosted.
Specifically the topic of online dating. It is something that no one wants to truly admit or talk about. They may feel shame or embarrassed, so you guys really just brought it like to the surface, like, hey, nothing to be ashamed about. We're going through it. We know you're going through it. It's tough
Yeah,
out there.
I'm sure there was somebody out there going, "Oh yeah, that shit happened to me. The exact same thing." Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Like,
the connection is
posted
great.
it when we posted the show. I think somebody had a comment saying like, okay, I'm intrigued because you
Yes,
could
I
relate.
knew exactly who it was too.
So
Yeah, it's
that was fun. Like, sometimes you have those silent listeners. Like the other day, I was looking at my analytics, actually earlier today, and I have 7,000 expressions. I'm like, what does that mean? That's how
wow.
much my show was shared.
Yes, that's amazing. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. But I'm like, I feel like you guys got to stop being silent followers. Like, if you're following the show, support it. Like, how we keep these things alive is if you are truly supporting all of us and our programs
It's
and everything.
true. And
So,
when we say support, if I may, I don't mean to cut you off, but when we say support, we don't
engage.
mean send us $5. Although it would be nice
No.
if it would be nice if you send us 100, by the way. But that's not that's not the only support we're talking about. Liking stuff or commenting or even give us your praise, give us your criticism. Just being a part of it just makes a huge difference for us because we know you're engaged and we know we're making the difference. Obviously, people are listening. People are gathering in and listening and thinking about what we're saying and having their own opinions. Don't hold it in. Let it out. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you like something, if you don't like something, because I know I speak for Sylvia, but we're here for you. We're not here for us. We're here to serve you.
Yeah.
So,
Not
it
making
feels great to get
that's for
some feedback.
yeah. Yeah, engagement, and that's free.
Yes.
Too, if you guys want an ad for your business and things like that, we're here for you too. We have packages as far as sponsorships and get your business out there on the radio. There's a lot of sponsors as well, so that we can continue creating these big events.
And what I was going to say is, don't think of it as a donation to us. Think of it as an investment with return, because we do have an audience, and you never know. Whatever business you may have. For one, our prices are very good, and I'm not here to sell stuff on your show, but I'm just saying our prices are very competitive, and we have an audience. So you are going to reach some possible consumer that's going to buy something from you or use your services, and you're basically you're making an investment with us. You're not making a donation that's not going to gain you in return. It's an actual investment. So
Yeah.
just wanted to throw that out there.
if if you guys are following us on the socials, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok and YouTube. Even if you tag us on something, we will repost it. You have an event, you have a dinner coming up,
Yes.
or something. If you tag us, we'll repost it, and we'll definitely support you guys. If you guys want media coverage, reach out. We'll talk. So I think it's important to know that we're definitely here to feed each other, I would say. Just
Yes.
like Taylor did for you when you started with the earthquakes and the play by plays. We're all here to feed each other and lift one another up, and we're getting out of the very judgmental Portuguese mentality and one upping one another, and your organization is this and mine is that. We're stepping away from that. I'm loving how the Portuguese community is evolving moving forward. I could feel it, and
I agree. I agree. And just to make one thing clear, PSAs, public service announcements, that is regarding whether it's an organization, like you said, an event. I mean, we don't charge for that. It'll be an honor to
yes,
mention,
yes.
on the air, or on social media. That's what we're here for. We're here to unite people, and you don't have to pay us for that. So if that's what you want, how much is it going to cost? Nothing. Just send us whatever you need, and we'll talk about it. We'll repost it, and we'll serve the community, because that's what the intent is.
Well, Nelson, I want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story and sharing just a little bit in depth of what PAMA is, because we throw the word around. And so I was like, what does it mean? Because I don't know if anybody knows what, PAMA stands for. So I appreciate your time, your effort. We make little to nothing doing what we're doing, but we love it. And I hope that more of the community can engage with us, and we can see, if we're at an event, come up to us, and I promise I won't chase you with the microphone.
Even if it's just to say hello, yes.
Just to say hello. And I mean, you'll see me and Nelson out there.
Yeah, and I have to say, and Sylvia and I kind of discussed this prior to the interview, but we are working on some cool stuff, like she said
Mhm.
before, launching early 2024, which I think everyone's going to appreciate. And we also have some big announcement coming really soon, from someone in the community. I'm not going to say names, but once that is also announced, it's going to be great, and we're really happy. And just be a part of us, like our page, share it with your family, tell your friends about us, and just help support us. And one last thing, if I may, Sylvia,
Sure.
um, there's several ways for you to be in contact with us. We have our free radio app on the Palma Portuguese Media on both iPhone and Android platforms, and we're also on Alexa. So I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right.
it's very easy for you to tune in and hear everything that's going on.
So you basically say, Alexa, play is it California or?
So yes, the first time you're going to use it, you have to use the word enable. Um, so you would say something like, and let me see if this works. If not, I'm going to be really embarrassing. Alexa, enable California Portuguese Radio One.
Okay, here's Palma One Radio.
Ah,
Playing Portuguese Radio 1.
she didn't leave me down. See?
Epa.
All right, Alexa, stop. So yeah, that's one way to do it. And then we do Palma One, we do Palma Classic. So you basically just change, first you use enable, and then once it's done for the first time, you just tell it, say her name, and you say, play California Portuguese Radio Classic or play California Portuguese Radio One, and you could have access to it, while you're cooking or hanging out. Great for music, great for the podcasts and the shows and everything else, and even to listen to soccer. It's so easy, and we try to make it the easiest possible way for people to be in contact and tune in and listen to music or listen to great content in
Yeah,
general.
I actually am a radio classic listener too, because I'm a sucker for some old school Portuguese music and some bimba music. So, we don't discriminate. You don't have to be old to listen to classic. You just
Of course not. And you got some amazing fado on there too, which I know a lot of the young generation loves, and there's a lot of good fado playing on classic. And it's not just fado from Portugal. We have a lot of music there from even our own community, father singers. We have a lot of good talent, not just in California, but in the East Coast as well. And we support, if you are a young artist, a new singer, whether it's fado or all kinds of music. I mean, and if you're kind of wondering, where am I going to go? Hey, reach out to us. I mean, we know people. We know people that know people. Like in Jersey, say, hey, I know people. Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I know people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you got nothing to lose. We might put you in contact with someone that's going to help you, grow into this amazing singer that's going to be one day singing at our fest. I mean, that would be great. So don't be shy. Just reach out to us.
Is it raining over there, Nelson, for you?
All right. Let me look out the window. It is cloudy, not raining so
Oh,
far.
it stopped.
It's cloudy with a chance of meatballs. I think that's what the forecast was.
Well, I'm so happy that we finally had this episode.
Me too.
I didn't know that you were so flattered to be on my show, Nelson.
I was. I wasn't going to
And
invite myself, but.
no, it definitely was time. And I'm super proud
Thank
to
you.
be part of Palma. And we can't wait to hear from you guys. And we're just we're lucky to be able to have this platform as well.
Absolutely, and I'm very, very, very happy that you and I connected, and you've been helping the way you've been helping. And this is our company. It's not my company. This is our company. And when I say ours, I mean mine, yours, and basically the communities. This is what we're here for. It was an honor you invited me, and it was really, really nice to. It's the first time, and I've said this to you. This is the first time that I'm actually being interviewed on my own platform. So that's kind of cool, even though I'm on your podcast, but it's going to air on Palma. So I'm actually being interviewed for the first time on Palma, and I really appreciate the opportunity. And I'm thanking for everyone that's tuning in to listen to a little bit of more about me. I'm not just uma boca grande like people have been called me before. I'm not a bad dude in general. I try to serve my community the best I can. And this was just one way for me to kind of show everybody else the true Nelson Late, I guess.
1000%. And I'm happy that you did it.
Thank you. I really am too.
Well, we will talk soon, Nelson. If you guys are not following us yet, please look out and give us a follow, give us a like, give us some love, and we will give it right back.